What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Swing for the Fences show. Not at the usual time, not at the usual 4:45 Eastern. We got a big 7-game slate on DraftKings in the early slate, so we decided, hey, let's move it up, talk these 7 games. Gary, Mango, and myself will break it all down. Lock is at 2:10 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll have the premium show. As always, that'll break down the main slate. 5 games on DraftKings, 5 games on FanDuel. We got you covered on both slates today. We appreciate you all hanging out with us. Mango, I got to throw it to you first. You were on the course of BigT yesterday. I was very, very impressed with your score, Mango. 106. Man, that's good stuff. Were you hitting the drives well? Were the irons in play? You just weren't hitting out of bounds? What was going on? 106 is impressive, Mango.
Well, for one, like the 2 courses that you saw the first car on, they were definitely harder than this course. This was a little bit easier. You could, if you wanted, you could spray a little bit more. Second, keep in mind, everyone always looks at that scorecard. We play from the tips because BigT forces us to, right? I go up and I see these par 3s that I have to hit 200-yard iron shots, and I just got to go out there and figure it out because BigT just says you are playing from the tips. So that's what we do. And the drive was really good, actually. I'll admit I outdrove BigT on some. I felt like BigT's driver wasn't as crisp as normal, but his irons were insane. Like every par 3, he just popped up there and just went and darted it every single time. So BigT was locked in with his iron play. Felt like he could have even shot better. And I bled strokes around the green. I was a disaster there. I need to buy there's like this one club that my one friend showed me recently that I need to use. It's like the 60-degree one to give me a better loft. I've been using my gap and pitching wedge, and it's just not as good as that other one. So I got to get that in the bag. And then once I get that, I feel like I'll be able to practice that up, and we'll keep working on the game. But it was a fun course, had a good time out there. Obviously got some winners with BigT, and overall had some improvements, and just got to kind of keep working towards that so we can, go out there and hopefully one day, maybe beat BigT. That's the goal, but that's a difficult one.
You got to start with Snyder first. You guys are chirping on the basketball court. You got to take Snyder on his own turf at the golf course and then beat him in basketball. That'd be something for sure.
Firethorn would be tough, Title. Just so you know, that course, you haven't played it yet. If you ever get a chance to,
I'm not good at golf anyway, so I know I'll be in the hundreds. I just go out there for fun. I mean, I've played on very easy courses. I've played on very hard courses. They're all the same to me. They're all fun, but yeah, I don't get frustrated when it comes to that stuff. I know when to put my money down, when not to. But I was you drove BigT multiple times, man. BigT. I don't know if you're watching this, but man, going out driving you, that's a little hurtful, BigT. What's going on with that?
That's the thing, though. Big. I wasn't that many times. I mean, obviously, but my drive game was good. That's the one thing I'll definitely tout up that I did well at. And it was fun being on the course with BigT because there's times where like he'd be like making fun of my shots, right? He's saying, your noodle's too small with that putt. Like, I mean, just the classic stuff that like BigT says. It's just too funny when you're out there golfing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome though. It looked like a nice day, good times, picking winners from the course. Gary, what's going on, man? We talked yesterday on the show. There's a lot of big winners yesterday. I mean, it was an interesting slate. It was pretty good, I thought. Pitching kind of went well. We got some spots right. The Brewers Minnesota game stack did well. Toronto, Hoop was all over Toronto. Toronto did great. Some of the other spots, Colorado, definitely a disappointment. White Sox were a disappointment. We weren't on them as much. There were some ups, there were some downs. $50,000 for Max Hankins I saw in the Discord, sweating him out on FanDuel. Congrats to you, man. That was awesome. Toronto and a Brewers team. Pitching kind of went well. It was an interesting one. You want to talk about anything yesterday, talk about that. Nice 7-game slate today too, though.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was on the Toronto train with the hoopster. He had some conviction on the Toronto side yesterday, and I should have listened. I just don't really normally target against that Palante guy. He's just a massive ground ball guy, but he does walk a lot of guys, and that leads to innings unraveling. And they hit bombs off of him yesterday. So I think Springer hit one, Kirk hit one. So very hurtful there. Yeah, and then very hurtful with Colorado late. I mean, we always say it, and we always never follow through with it. The first game in Coors is normally a game to kind of stay away from a little bit. I didn't really realize that yesterday. I'm going right back to the well today, though. Today is day 2. It's a new day. There's more money to be won. And I think it's a good little slate here. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll dive right into pitching. I mean, this slate we talked about yesterday where you couldn't just pinpoint chalk at too many spots. I think you can definitely pinpoint chalk on this slate. I think Burns and Javier are going to be the chalk pairing. Now, there are a couple options you can go to that will get some ownership, but I think those two are the highest. And then you look at Coors Field, it's back on this slate. I think the White Sox are the highest implied total on the slate. I think they come in as chalk too. The prices aren't what they should be, what DraftKings used to do where they price everyone up in Coors. It's not like that anymore. So I think the White Sox are the chalk hitting team. Of course, it's going to be spread out a little. They're not going to be 50% owned or anything. And I think Burns and Javier are the pitching chalk. So that is something to note. And we go and break this all down. Let's go. Let's start a pitcher, though. I'll start with you, Gary. I'm going to say 8K and above because you got Corbin Burns 10-1, should be 11-1 or something. You got Christian Javier at 8-7 against Oakland. But Zach Gallen's there at 8-1. There's Logan Webb, John Gray. There is some pivots I think you can make. Talk about the top tier, 8K and above.
Yeah, so we have another slate with some pretty solid pitching options here at the top. I mean, Corbin Burns, not much you really have to say here. He's got an 8.5 strikeout prop with juice on. Well, it's got plus money on that, but still massive strikeout prop. Just it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to fade that. I mean, even against Minnesota. Just an incredible spot. I mean, Burns has the highest upside on any slate from what I'm seeing. So I like him a ton. Javier is another guy. I mean, just a massive strikeout rate over the last month. Let me see here. He's got a 44% strikeout rate over the last month. That's just insane. He's got a 2.64 xFIP against in this matchup against Oakland. Oakland likes to hit a little bit in the daytime, but I mean, Javier, he's coming off some pretty down performances for his standards if you're looking at his game logs, but I think this is a good bounce back spot for him here today. A couple other guys I like. I'm probably not going to pair Burns and Javier on my main lineup just because, that's going to be the mega chalk pairing. I do like Logan Webb in this matchup in Arizona. The roof's likely going to be closed as it's over 100 degrees there every day, 9,400. And he's going to be, I'm seeing 11% ownership on him. So that could be a nice little pivot off of a chalky Christian Javier. Another guy I also like is Zach Gallen. He's just been really solid. He's coming off of a 7-inning, 32 DraftKings point performance against Washington, and they don't really strike out a ton. So like them a lot. So I think I'm going to rank these guys Burns 1, Gallen 2, and then Javier. I've seen some talk a little bit about John Gray. I just can't do it. Julio Rodriguez back in this lineup. It's probably going to be 85 degrees in Seattle. I know they have a dome, but the ends are open to that stadium. So pretty good hitting conditions in Seattle for once. I know they have a 3.9 implied total, but I'd rather play some bats against John Gray here.
Yeah, definitely makes sense, man. Go and head over to you. There's Burns, there's Javier. How are you going to navigate that chalk? And then talk about any other pivots, 8K and above.
Yeah, I think Burns, Javier, like my two favorite. They're the best options in my opinion. I think Gallen, I don't know what to do with Gallen. I think Gallen's a solid option, but I am kind of interested in Logan Webb. If you look at the price difference, you look at the projection difference, naturally you are going to see people just be like, okay, Gallen's the better play because they see $1,300. They see a better, projection. And I think Logan Webb naturally is going to be very low owned on this slate. I think he's a really good tournament option. Now, do I think Logan Webb is better than Javier and Burns straight up? No, if I'm playing cash games, I think that's my favorite pairing. The question then is, one, what bats are you getting onto your lineups? On top of that, what's the difference in ownership? I think there is reason to whichever one's going to be the highest owned, maybe Javier or Burns, maybe make one slight pivot to a Logan Webb. I certainly think he could have a good game. We typically like to play the Arizona Diamondbacks when they're up against lefties. Well, Logan Webb, he's not a lefty, right? This is a good spot for him. He's a good ground ball guy, gets the pitch in Arizona. I'm not that worried about it. And Webb has been pretty good this year. So I like Logan Webb. I think we're getting some low ownership on him. And I think getting overweight on him in tournaments is a great idea. Not saying you need to slam the lock button on him or anything, but I think getting overweight is a good idea on this slate. I like Javier. Like I said, I like Burns. I think Gallen's in play. I definitely, like I said, if I was playing only a couple teams, I would maybe consider the Gallen fade just because the Giants, they're not a bad team, right? And there could be a little bit more ownership on them. And you got to make a decision somewhere, right? Obviously, you can't just play, every single spot and not feel uncomfortable somewhere. And if I had to pick the pitcher to be uncomfortable on, I think it's him right now on this slate. Another cheap option that I want to discuss, which just gives you a completely different lineup construction than the field, is looking to attacking this Angels lineup. I mean, we know how bad the Angels have been this year, especially without Mike Trout, and it's just not a good lineup. Yes, you have to worry about getting through Ohtani. Sure, that's something that is always a concern. But overall, this is a team that's striking out a ton. It's a team that we want to attack. This isn't a ballpark that you're that scared of. It's not like a huge hitter's park. It's only 82 degrees. So Brad Keller's in play at 6-1 if you need the salary for your teams. The question is, do you need it, right? Because if you look at this slate, and it is an important talking point, and it matters with the pitchers as well and how you're handling it completely, it's a core slate. It's simple. There's one total that's 11.5, and then the next closest one is 9.5. So there is going to be some ownership on that game. You are going to see that happen. So you have to decide where you're going to make your pivots. Is it within your White Sox or Colorado Rockies stack, or is it just full on fading that game? And if you do full on fade that game, then you just easily go that Burns and Javier route. Maybe if you do play the White Sox, maybe it is making one pivot at pitcher and then making it with your secondary stack. You just have to think of what you're going to do with your full lineup construction. So to kind of like button up the pitching, I think Burns and Javier, my definitely favorite combination. My favorite pivot play is Logan Webb. I think Zach Gallen is fine. Not someone I'm slamming on all my teams, but I think he's a decent option, maybe the best fade pitcher that has ownership on this slate for me. And then the guy to get different with your construction, I was debating between John Gray and Keller, but I kind of agree with Gary. Like, I like John Gray, but this Seattle lineup's getting a little scary for me. So I think that I'm going to maybe stay away from John Gray here on this slate.
Yeah, I like it. You touched on the lower tier. Brad Keller was the only one you had interest in, 8K and below. Like Logan Webb a lot, obviously Javier and Burns. So good pitching breakdown there. Don't think there's too many options. Gary, are you going to go to a Keller? Are you going to go to anyone 8K and below? I would make a case more for it if pricing was right at Coors Field or the Dodgers or something. There's just, you get too many cheap bats in these lineups. Like, of course, you can always find the salary to spend on bats. But do you think, I guess I'll ask you this quick, man, going, since you are the one that said you might play Keller. You don't think he has a chance? I mean, baseball, anyone has a chance. You don't expect him to outscore a Javier or a Burns or a Logan Webb, do you? His projection is pretty high, I will say. It's higher than I thought. But because of the salary, like, you're not going to leave $3K on the table with a Keller in your lineup, right? You would make sure to spend all that salary since you don't think he's going to be one of the highest raw points pitchers, or talk about it. I could be wrong.
No, I'd probably make sure to get in, like, if I made like a pivot play, it'd be like a Logan Webb, right? At that 9K range, if I had that 3K in salary. The reason to play a guy like Keller is the different construction it gives you from the field. It unlocks getting guys that like other people can't. Like, and I think the other reason to do it is like, it's kind of like Aaron Nola last night. Like, let's say Corbin Burns goes out there and puts up like 13 DK points or 12, like Nola did. And then Keller goes out there for like 15 or 16. Yes, it's only a 4-point difference, but it also maybe got you a bigger bat that got you to the top of the leaderboards as well. And it gives you a different construction in the field. That's the reason behind it. So yeah, I wouldn't be like saying, hey, let me just like leave 4K and go Keller over Corbin Burns. I don't feel confident in that take. If I did, it'd be going for a higher ceiling guy like a Logan Webb at a lower ownership or someone else there. Like that's the kind of reasoning behind it.
No, same page. That's what I thought. Just want to make sure. I mean, because there's some days like Big T yesterday or 2 days ago, I believe we were on the premium show. We talked about Zach Greinke, and pitching was so weak that he goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Greinke was the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. And he was fine leaving 3,000 and stuff like that. I agree. I don't think this is the slate to do that. Gary, you talked about 8K and above. Is there anyone 8K and below you have interest in?
Yeah, I mean, it's just Brad Keller for me. Nobody else down here. I mean, I'm going to be targeting these guys down here. I mean, Jansen Junk. I mean, who is this guy? No, thank you. Senzatella's been really bad. Corbin against the Dodgers. No, thank you. Marco in 95-degree weather in Seattle. No, thank you. Archer. Yeah. So it's just Brad Keller for me. I'm going to sprinkle him in my MME sets. I am going to be heavier on the top. I'll probably limit myself to probably about 20% Keller.
I like it. So we're going to go ranking pitcher first, either say Burns or Javier, which one you prefer, and then give two other pitchers your favorite rankings. I'll start with you, Gary.
Yeah, it's definitely Burns for me. And I really like Logan Webb, like Managone said. And then, I mean, I like Zach Allen a little bit more than him. So I'm going to go him third.
I like it. Managone, same question.
Yeah, so you had to pick between Burns and Javier. That's a difficult one.
I mean, obviously, everyone knows they're the two best pitchers.
No, of course. I mean, So I think the key is what I would do with it. And this is something I think about for sure in like a lot of tournaments. Like if I think Javier and Burns are really close, well, if one is 50% and then like one is 30,
let's say they're both 50. Because I mean, I don't know if they could both be 45. I don't think we're going to see too big of a gap is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. But like, I think this is just a good talking point for like future DFS slates too. Like if I see one that's 50 and 30, I think there's like a lot of similarities to them. Whichever one's the 51, I'd rather not play
sure.
and I go to the other one instead if I think they're just very similar like value wise. So yeah, it probably is going to be close for sure between the two of them. You are 100% right about that. So my lean is going to be, I think Burns is the better option. So I'm going to go with him. Javier is pretty good too. Obviously I like both of them, but if I have to pick, we'll go with Burns as my number one. I love Javier. Obviously I have exposure to both of them and be overweight on them. And then my next guys are, I'm going to go Logan Webb as my number 2. And then, man, I just don't know what to do with the Zach Gallen thing, right? I feel like Zach Gallen, he's a good play, but like, I don't know, man, like Brad Keller, I think is more intriguing than him. So let me go Brad Keller over him. Because again, I kind of want to have like some kind of pitching take where I'm making some type of stand because I feel like at hitters, it's difficult to like make a stand there at hitters that I'm like, finding because I think this Coors spot is just really good for sure. So, and hey, it's White Sox and Coors. And I just noticed, Title, we moved the show up. Tickets are cheap. Maybe I can somehow find a way to get down there. I don't know.
There you go.
Tough, but it's
our tickets always cheap. Are tickets always cheap? Like in Milwaukee, you can find $13 tickets way up in the nosebleeds pretty much every single game. Is that the way at Coors?
The last time I looked at the tickets, which is like maybe like a week ago, the behind home plate was like $40 or 30.
Yeah, so you definitely could find you can definitely go on StubHub quick and find some tickets, man.
I might look. It might be too much to pull off. We'll see, but I'm interested.
How far from the stadium are you?
Like 35 minutes. So I could.
So it's not the most convenient Uber ride. I get it.
I wouldn't even Uber. I would just drive in because I gotta get back for golf stuff too. But we'll see. Maybe I can pull it off. Maybe.
Speaking of golf, the show tonight is later than usual, 10 p.m. Eastern, the Golf Premium Show with Tambo, Uncle T, Big T, breaking it all down. You do have to be a member for that show. Monster prize pools as always. They have a lot of fun on that show. Pick some winners. If you want to see that show, if you want to see the MLB Premium Show today, there is no free show again. Just a premium breaking down the 5-game slate. You do have to be a member. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off. So make sure to check that out. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us. 257 watching, 77 likes. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. We're going to give you the plays of the day. Yesterday was hurtful. We couldn't give it out. Couldn't give them to you. But today, I'm going to give them out regardless. We do appreciate if you do hit it for us, though. I see we got Drew Annis. We got Gator Nation, Bobby Boone, Dante Jones, Stevie Boyton, Mike, Jay Burton, Nadesify. A lot of familiar faces. Chris in here, Zodiac Pop. A lot of familiar faces in here, so we appreciate you hanging out with us. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. A nice Wednesday morning or afternoon. So let's dive into it. Let's talk bats, 7-game slate. Weather looks to be totally fine. I think the main slate should be fine too, but we'll start in Milwaukee, the Minnesota Twins, the Milwaukee Brewers, Chris Archer and Corbin Burns on the mound. Don't think anyone wants to attack Corbin Burns, but if you want your 1% own leverage stack on the slate, there you have it. I'm not going to be doing that. As far as the Brewers, I'm going right back to them today. Treated me well yesterday. I don't think Chris Archer is good. We got to get different somewhere from the White Sox and stuff. I'm not going to be playing the White Sox personally in GPPs. I think the Brewers make for a little interesting stack. Man, I think the lineup 1 through 9 is in play, and I'm definitely playing my boy Tyrone Taylor down there in the 9-hole. Gary, I'll go to you. I don't know if the roof is open. It has been lately. It's been nice in Milwaukee, so I assume it is. But I didn't call the hotline like K Fallick or see anything. I don't know if you know that answer, but any interest in bats in this one?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of interest here in Milwaukee. And I mean, Hunter Renfroe, this guy, looking at his last
hit another one yesterday.
I mean, he is just on fire right now. I have a ton of interest, 4,500. I swore off the Brewers earlier in the season, and Mangone's been making fun of me because I haven't shaved my head, but I publicly renounced my hatred for the Milwaukee Brewers, and I've been on them quite a bit here, and I'm going to continue that today. Tons of interest here. Looking at the last 30-day numbers for this team, it's just green for everybody. Adames, 211 ISO, Tellez, 219 ISO, McCutcheon, 254, Renfroe, massive, 462 ISO. Urias, even down the 7-hole, 250 ISO. Caratini, 208 ISO. Even your boy Tyrone Taylor, he's got a 150 ISO, but always low owned in that 9-hole. So definitely have a ton of interest here in the Milwaukee bats. And I will say on FanDuel, the FanDuel slate that just locked, I do have just a couple of Minnesota stacks just to get a little bit crazy, but I'm not going to be doing that on DraftKings.
Gator Nation said roof is open, confirmed. Appreciate it, Gator Nation.
I don't think that's correct, Title. I just literally called the hotline and I couldn't hear because like Gary's talking. He mentioned my name. They said like the roof is planning to be open, but it might rain and it's subject to change. So it sounds like it's more up in the air from when I called the hotline just now. But again, I couldn't hear everything. So,
let me check the weather quick on my app. It doesn't show any rain in Milwaukee until later. It's a little cloudy.
I called it though, and it wasn't your normal, like the roof is open. Like it was like all this, like just, it's subject to change and could be with rain.
At the end of the day, like if you like Brewers against Archer, roof open, roof closed, you like it. It's a little added boost if it's open. I'm going to assume it's open, but Mangone, he's the one that called. He would know most. Gator Nation, I hope you're not giving me a little false information, but Tony A said roof is always open in summer. If not raining, they have no AC. Yeah, I mean, if it's nice weather out, it's not too muggy. Yeah, the roof's open a good amount. We're going to assume it's open today. Do you like the Brewers against Chris Archer, Mangone, like us? And can you make 1% owned Twins? I'm not going to do it.
No 1% owned Twins for me. I think there's other ways you could leverage on this slate if you would like to, but that's not the way that I would go about it. I think the Brewers are definitely a really good option. I like them a ton. Talked about Renfroe, obviously, McCutchen, all these guys, they can crush Archer here in this spot. The one thing I really think is encouraging, like if you look, I think Archer's due for some pretty big regression. If you look over like the last 30 days, I mean, his XFIP is 6.53, strikeouts around 17% walk rate. Now you can make the argument, like the numbers are small sample size, 20 against lefties, 20 against righties, but he hasn't given up a ton of power, but like all those things can shift the other way very easily. It just seems like there's some good regression coming, and then the Brewers are hitting. Like it seems like they're a streaky team. I think we want to ride this out. I like the Brewers as 5-mans, and I like them as 3-mans on this slate. A good way to get different on this slate, and it's something I want to talk about here a little bit, is like, let's go to the White Sox lineup, right? Again, like the White Sox, like I hate when we have some of these slates. I hate like going over and talking about Coors when we're not on it, but it's one of the biggest talking points and it's going to gain a lot of ownership. Now, how can you make your White Sox like 5-man and Brewers stack different? Like these are things that Hoop, I think, is pretty good at. What are the ways we can go about it? Well, we got to look at ownership on some of the guys. Where do like the Brewers and the Brewers and the White Sox, where do they cross paths where you could see ownership cut into each other? Well, for one, you have to make a decision at first base. Jose Abreu or Rowdy Tellez. So I think that's going to cut some ownership on guys. Shortstop, Willy Adames or Tim Anderson. Looks like Tim Anderson's going to have way higher ownership. So if you go to Willy Adames, that's going to make you different. You could have like a nice 5-man White Sox stack with a 3-man where it goes Adames, and it kind of, if Tim Anderson like sinks and gets a 0, you could be in a pretty good spot. So that's another one you can obviously look at. Moncada will probably be the highest owned White Sox. There's definitely ways that you can go about this and make the team different. So I think the two biggest positions where you're seeing that at are shortstop and first base. And then outfield, it's absolutely loaded, right? You got Vaughn, you got Pollock, really good options that are going to have some ownership. And on the Brewer side, you got Yelich, McCutchen, you got Renfroe, who's been crushing it, Tyrone Taylor, who's going to be low on, who you said you like, Title. There's definitely ways that if you play a 5-3, you can make it very unique. So think about that when you're going about it with your lineups. And then maybe you play like, I don't know, like a Christian Javier and like a Logan Webb. And instead you're fading the Burns, and you hope it just doesn't have a massive game and beat the entire slate. And that's how you build a really good lineup construction where you have some really good ownership plays and you're still on the good stacks. Because again, there's a big difference in these totals. There's an 11.5 total, and the next closest one I think is like 9 or 8.5. And they're all sitting in that range, and a bunch of 8s and 7.5. So the White Sox game is definitely one that you want to make sure you get exposure to. You just have to think about how you're going to construct your lineup.
Yeah, no, we're all on the same page. My least favorite Brewer bat, I said it yesterday too, is Christian Yelich, to be honest. He'd probably be the one I don't play, and I don't need to. I like McCutchen more in the outfield, Renfroe more, Tyrone Taylor more. You can, Victor Caratini at catcher, sign me up. Urias home. I mean, I like this lineup for sure. 2 through 9 is what I'll be focused on. I like the Brewers, man. And if you want to play Christian Yelich, like, of course, we all know Christian Yelich. He just hasn't showed power at all. lately. So good game to start it off. If you want to get different, they should be pretty low owned. Next game on the slate, the Los Angeles Angels, the Kansas City Royals, Jansen Junk and Brad Keller on the mound. 82 degrees in Kansas City. Got to go back to you, Gary. You're on the Royals yesterday. Disappointed a little bit. I don't know much about Jansen Junk. If you want to talk about him, are you going right back?
Yeah, I mean, Jansen Junk's not really good. I think he's more of a reliever than anything. So this is more of a bullpen game from what it looks like to me. So I don't like normally targeting bullpen games, and I'm seeing some ownership on these Kansas City bats, especially the top of the lineup. MJ Melendez, Whit Merrifield, Benintendi, and Emmanuel Rivera specifically. I think Michael A. Taylor too, and that 6 hole is going to get some ownership. I have a little bit on FanDuel just in my runs that I did this morning for that slate, but I'm not going to have much, if any, in this slate on DraftKings today, and definitely no Angels for me.
Mango.
Yeah, I like this game. One reason I really like it, I think the Royals fit a really good mini stack candidate on this slate. Obviously, if you are going to jam in some good pitchers and you're going to jam in some of these other good bats, right? If let's say you wanted Tim Anderson, you want Jose Abreu and just some of these other big bats on this 6 implied total, well, you need to find some spots where you need to get some value plays. One thing I really like about the mini stack, and I talked about my 3 max single entry stuff, is like, I like how Melendez and Whit Merrifield fit. They're not, first of all, they hit 1 and 2, and they fit 2 positions that are kind of rough to roster at times, right? Yes, they're a little expensive, but I think they're good options that you can mix and match in your mini stack. Also, a thing that's nice is like, let's say you do play a Melendez and a Whit Merrifield. You need some value plays, like a Kyle Isbell at the bottom of the lineup at 2-1 or a Michael A. Taylor at 2K. There's just so much salary relief there that I think they're really good options. Benintendi at 4-2. He's another really good option. So overall, I think this is a really good mini stack option. I can't find 5 guys that I'm dying to play on this team, but mini stack wise, I think it can really work. Like even if you did like a Michael A. Taylor and a Kyle Isbell with like a Melendez or like just a Whit Merrifield, I think it could really work out on this slate. I'm not dying to like jamming guys like O'Hearn and Nicky Lopez and Cam Gallagher, but I think there's a lot of good opportunities for 2 and 3 man stacks on this Royals team. And Jansen Junk is not very good. So that's kind of how I'm building with this Royals team. I think they fit these like Brewers and White Sox stacks really well to help provide some value and get some low ownership plays as well.
Yeah, makes some sense. They definitely offer a lot of salary relief in a lot of parts of that lineup. You mentioned catcher Melendez, second base Whit, filling those positions. Everything you said makes sense for sure. Let's get to the next game on the slate where all the ownership is going to be Coors Field, Chicago White Sox, Colorado Rockies, Lucas Giolito and Antonio Senzatella on the mound. 11.5 total. Mangone said it's warm in Colorado. Hey, you might be a little wuss, Mangone. I don't even see 90 degrees yet. It is 87, though. It is a little warm one in Colorado. Man, I got to go to you, Mangone. The White Sox are going to be the chalk. Senzatella's Chiefs. Lucas Giolito, though, has the name recognition. I don't think people are going to go to Colorado, really. They're one of my favorite stacks on the slate, too. I like the Brewers. I like Colorado. Those are the 2 that I'm focusing on most. I mean, I love Coors Field, of course. One team's mega chalk. The other team's going to be overlooked a little bit. Will they get some ownership? Of course. It's a 7-game slate, but not nearly the amount from Chicago is what I'm seeing. I just play the ownership game. They awful yesterday. Hopefully people don't want to go back. Giolito, I'm not too worried about in Coors Field. So Mangone, White Sox, Colorado, touch on this game.
Yeah, the one thing, if you look at like some of the numbers on Giolito, like he was like really bad against like righties early in the year, but like if you look at his last 30 days numbers, they've been like really good overall. And like, so let's see this Rockies lineup, because I know it's been bad the past couple of games. Now we get Blackman at the top, we get Hampson, Chris Bryant, who like, he might be dealing with an injury. He might not be like totally right. So,
his foot.
And same with CJ Cron too. Like he's kind of been a little banged up. Like
Jose Iglesias took a big foul ball off it. They took a foul ball off his foot. A pretty hard one 2 days ago. Iglesias did. I wouldn't touch him.
Yeah. And so like the more I'm thinking about this, like how crazy is Lucas Giolito on this slate? It might not be the best, but like,
well, seeing as though I like Colorado, I'm going to say no.
I know you do. I understand why, Title. I get it. I understand why you like it. The thing is, I remember, and maybe it's that I get like Lance Lynn and Giolito confused. They just like look similar, right? But like I was trying to, and like both of them have gotten like smashed at some point during this season. They've had their like issues, but like, I don't know. The more I look at the numbers, at least on it, it seems like things are dialing in a bit for Giolito. So I understand why you're doing the Colorado thing, because it's a very difficult slate hitting wise. You're going to look like you get the Colorado stack at low ownership. So I totally get what you're saying. I don't know. I'm kind of considering the Giolito thing a little bit. The problem is I don't know if I need to on this slate. So overall, I'm not playing any Rockies. I don't see them. If I do play them, it's more of like a mini stack. I think that's like the way it would maybe fit for me. If you want to talk about the White Sox side, let's look at that lineup, because again, when we have these lineups, like this is an important talking point. And the White Sox have not been good against righties this year. Senzatella has been really bad, but I think this is a spot where, again, it's just too good of a spot. And these White Sox are starting to hit better, where I'm going to like kind of look at like more so like these recent numbers, the last 30 days, and take a shot, right? I'm going to play some Tim Anderson, Moncada, Jose Abreu, Grandal. I mean, it's a good lineup overall with some players like Andrew Vaughn down towards the bottom. I'm not going to play like a Leury Garcia. Josh Harrison's fine, but I'm just look for ways to make this stack different. I'll look at it as 5-mans. Maybe it's best to play him as 3-mans and then find that 5-man stack. Like maybe the better stack is going a 5-man Brewers with like a 3-man White Sox. And maybe it's like even like a 2-man. Obviously you could go to like an Andrew Vaughn and a Grandal. That could certainly be different. You fade a lot of those other chalky options and then get the job done on this slate. So like the White Sox, want to find ways to make that different. I understand why I like the Rockies. I won't say it's like a bad play or anything, but I'm just not like as excited about it. And I can easily be wrong about it on this slate. And then of course there's always other slates we can go to.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's kind of just my like philosophy on MLB, like GP. Like everyone knows I love Coors Field. Usually there's one side that's uber chalk, one side gets forgotten a little bit more. This slate is just the Rockies, and I don't like too many hitting spots, so just the nature of it. That's why. But yeah, if you want to play Giolito, man, go probably 2% own you'll get him at. I'm not obviously going to do it, but hey, there's worse things that can happen, I think. Gary, break down this game, Coors Field.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be hard for me to play the White Sox over the Rockies in this spot. I mean, the White Sox, I mean, they're without three, like in my opinion, three of their best hitters. Eloy Jimenez is not in the lineup. Robert continues to be on the IL, and Gavin Sheets is not in the lineup, who's been really good for them in this lineup. I get Senzatella has been really bad. I mean, he's just he's a true trash can pitcher. But man, this lineup outside of Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu is really bad. So I definitely am siding on the Colorado side. And one thing to note with the Lucas Giolito over the last 30 days, he's faced Cleveland twice, who's primarily left-handed heavy team. He faced Detroit and San Francisco, who doesn't hit righties very well. So I take those 30-day numbers with a grain of salt. And I'm not really worried about the injuries to Chris Bryant or CJ Cron. They wouldn't be playing these guys if they're not ready to hit the ball. I mean, they'd be placing them on the IL. I mean, they're going to be careful with these guys. So I'm not really worried about the injuries here. Definitely prefer the Rockies side, and they're going to be probably my top stack on the slate.
I like it. Little hand in hand with Gary today. Hopefully they treat us a little better than yesterday, Gary. Can't really be worse. At least we have that to say. But yeah,
go back.
Yep, I like it. Myron Kid in chat said Gio has been really giving up to righties this season. Kind of what you've been saying, Gary. So I like it. That is Coors Field. Couple games left. Do us a favor, please. Hit that like button, that big red subscribe button to the bottom right too. Make Simon happy. 2 seconds out of your day. Thumbs up. Big red subscribe button. Breaking down this early slate for you. Then we have the premium show later. MLB premium golf show. Late one today, 10 p.m. Eastern. Kind of back in the good old days. I remember years ago, we were hopping on. Man, you got to remember this. Hopping on the late Zoom. Hopping on the late StreamYard. Breaking down some golf. Talking to some members. Kind of what tonight for golf reminds me of. So golf show, MLB premium show. You do have to be a member for both. RPS Heater 25. Get you 25% off. Next game.
Yeah, title. One thing to mention with that show too, like, I mean, weather's been a pretty big factor in PJ DFS. Like, and sometimes that shows at 3, sometimes it's later. Like, that's one thing that's going to be nice to be able to watch these guys later on. You're going to get their full takes on, like, obviously diving into all that weather. And hey, BigT
looks like weather again today or this week. I don't
know if there will, but it just always happens. For sure. It feels like it's been like the year of like a BigT.
Sure. It's been every time. I feel like, yeah,
it's been the year of it. So like, hey, maybe there is some kind of advantage that's found, and like that's when those can be found, those little bit of gems. So also there'll be like later line movement on some of these, betting stuff on like some of the books. So, hey, be sure to join in on that show. Come hang out with the crew. They'll be bringing tons of winners, and we'll obviously be doing it too at 7:00 on the bet side. So if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, subscribe to this, and then subscribe to the Run Pure Bets channel as well. We'll be breaking it down with 5 or 6 of us just talking about the winners at 7 Eastern.
If anyone likes a good laugh, tune into that bet show. Anytime I want a nice laugh, I want to just some banter going back and forth. You guys do a good job with that. Talk some winners. So Bet Side, Run Pure Bets, check that out. Check out the premium show. Check out MLB Premium Show. Let's go. Next game on the slate, Washington Nationals, Los Angeles Dodgers, Patrick Corbin and Andrew Heaney on the mound. I saw someone say it earlier in chat. Justin Turner is back in this Dodgers lineup. They do have a very high implied total, second highest on the slate, sitting at about 5.8. We know Patrick Corbin. Dodgers just haven't really got it done, is what I see. 79 degrees, wind blowing out a little bit. Man, going Dodgers, is that a stack you can get to? And then I need Nationals for you.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth on this Dodger stack. Maybe you or Gary can convince me.
Maybe I should go to Gary first. Then he can talk you into it. Hey,
let's hear Gary. Yeah, I kind of want to get someone else's opinion on it, but
Gary, I did this to Hoop yesterday too. I went to him so he could listen to Gary. Gary, talk about these Dodgers.
I always prefer the Dodgers when they're playing in the daytime rather than at nighttime out there. So I'm going to have a lot of interest here. Corbin's just, Patrick Corbin's always bad. He's been bad. He gives up bombs to right-handed bats. He's really good against left-handed bats, but they only have two lefties in this lineup today. This lineup is really good for this matchup for them. And Justin Turner being back in the lineup is significant as well. He's just been hitting the ball really good as of late. He's got BVP against Corbin. I like the Dodgers quite a bit here. I'm going to stick to probably the lower part of the lineup. Trace Thompson, 2,300. Nobody's going to play him. Nobody's going to play Trace Thompson today. 2,300 in the 6-hole. He's been hitting the ball really well. He's got a 240 ISO, 348 WOBA over the last 30 days versus left-handed pitching. Austin Barnes also has a little BVP today. Another 8-hole hitter. Not going to be owned on this slate, batting 8th against 2,700. Really like the price tags on these cheaper guys. So I'm probably going to stick with my 5-man Colorado and kind of mix in the Dodgers as my top secondary stack.
Big T's favorite boy, Austin Barnes. If you're a premium member, you can almost surely see him in his core. And that is a joke for the few people that know. If you look at Big T's player pool, he chirps him once in a while. He has on the show. Mangone, Gary, talk you into some of these Dodgers. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So this is my thought process on the Dodgers. And it's funny. I'm on the course with Big T yesterday, and we are obviously, DFS conversation just happened, as we're kind of organically there. And we were kind of talking about how we're handling the slate yesterday. And he's just no chance I'm playing the shitty Dodgers. They're always bad there. And I shouldn't say they're always bad, but during the summer, it's just there's hotter spots. And in September, it's going to be better when it's colder in other spots. And that's where Hoop has had a lot of his Dodgers success was in April, right? When their weather just wasn't as great. So I typically lean in the summer. We fade the Dodgers. The other times we get on them. Now it is Patrick Corbin, and the Patrick Corbin experience is interesting. We know how it goes. There's some strikeouts, there's some walks, and there's some bombs given up. It's definitely a mix of things, but makes me think that I think they're better suited on this slate as a mini stack or as just random one-offs, right? Like a Trey Turner one-off, I wouldn't take out of my pool. I wouldn't take out a Justin Turner as a one-off, but I'm not slamming in these Dodgers on my lineups. I'm not doing the 5-man stacks. I just don't think that their ceiling is there. And it sounds crazy to say, but I think more people are going to stack up the Dodgers and do the 5-man stacks of them than I would like to be on. I want to just take them as one-offs here and there. Let's say I'm playing a lot of value stacks and I have a Trey Turner as a one-off option at maybe a weak shortstop. We talked about Adames and Anderson getting a lot of ownership. They might get more ownership than a Trey Turner today. That could possibly happen. So overall, that's how I'm approaching it. It's just mainly with some small stacks. And it's also the only other reason I'm kind of considering them is, again, we don't have a lot of big totals on this slate, right? If this is a big 15-game slate, I'd probably cross them off. But because it's not as big of a slate, I'm not going to do that. And we got Josh in the chat. Dodgers not getting swept. Dodgers got swept by the Pirates this year. So, don't just act like it can't happen. It certainly can. It's JJ says this all the time on the bet side. For instance, there's a team I was looking at today that's on a 6-game losing streak. I forget which one it is. It might be the Angels. But basically when I was looking at it, I was oh, maybe I'll bet the other side. Don't just think the streak is going to end.
Was it the Giants? Was it the Giants?
Yes, it was the Giants. That was it. I was thinking about the Giants and I was well, I saw their line was minus 120 and I was thinking of making a bet on them. And I was is that streak going to end today? Don't just act like the Dodgers are rambling to get out of this funk that they've been in the past couple of days. Baseball's weird. And of course they can pop out of it. It all depends what you think that Dodgers ownership is going to be. I just think based on positions and based on the way the slate is constructed. They're just better as one-offs and mini stacks. And if a 5-man beats me, I'm okay to move on to the next slate. I'm just perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another good breakdown from you, man, going. Two comments that stuck out a little bit in chat. Butthole Jenkins, don't forget about the stolen base potential versus Corbin. Always love talking stolen bases on this show. So yeah, Trey Turner, look at the speedy guys there. And then Gator Nation, lots of variance in baseball. Always a good reminder for the people out there. It's not NBA that we're playing. I mean, NBA variance a lot smaller than MLB. So you have conviction on anybody. If you think Corbin gets blown up today, Gary has some Minnesota sacks on FanDuel 1%. Yeah, a lot of variance. You can go.
Title, if you do like the Dodger stack, like let's say you like it today, one thing I think that's sharp to do is like run the 5-mans and see what pitcher combos it's getting you. Maybe that gets you a completely different pitching combination than the field. And if for some reason those Dodgers do pop off for big games, then what's going to happen? That's going to lead you to that type of construction where even if those pitchers do well, it could give you a different construction that can get you to the top of the leaderboards. And let's say that the others bats fail on the slate. If those bats do fail, then there's another opportunity for you to get there with, your different bats and pitching combination. So that's one thing I like to look at a ton. That if maybe like this Dodgers, all these 5K guys unlock a different construction, maybe you can get me there in different ways. So that's something to think about. If you do like the Dodgers, run that 5-man stack and just see what it's doing for you.
Yes, sir. Good point, man. Going. Let's get to the next game on the slate. The Houston Astros, the Oakland Athletics, Christian Javier and Cole Irvin on the mound. It's in Oakland. It's only 70 degrees. It is during the day though, Gary. Any Astros for you? And I assume no A's, but talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, they got no Pena in the lineup today. I mean, looks like kind of watered down. Kyle Tucker and Alvarez still in. Doesn't look like any Bregman.
No Maldonado.
Yeah, Devon, Myers, Lee. Like, no thanks. I can't do it in this park. Just other spots. I mean, they're going to be low owned. They got over a 4 total. I'm not going to get there today.
Mangone.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking in the chat. You were talking about the Astros and Athletics, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's been bad. Let's do this because I think this is a good thing to talk about on our site. We got the hand in this chart, right? I know Gary, he looks at that, updates it. Let's pull up the hand in this chart and just see. Because I remember looking earlier today. I was up early. I couldn't sleep when I woke up, so I was just dug into.
Yeah, I saw that. You were up so early this morning. I was like, "What's going on in Mangone's world?"
I know. I knew when I posted in the cash chart chat, you guys would be like, "Why is Mangone up early?" I woke up and I knew I couldn't go back to sleep.
I had to make sure my time was set properly.
Yeah, it was weird. But when I got in there, I said, let me just start looking at more data and more stuff. And one thing I looked at was the Astros. And like, dude, they are just like their last, like, I think since 7-8, right? So it's been like about 2-3 weeks there. And I'm losing it on the hand in this chart, but their numbers are horrific. I mean, they're just so bad over the last 30 days. And I'm wondering why. It's just like surprising. And they're not like in a great situation in this ballpark. Like, so WRC plus is at 28, ISO 25. The WRC plus the ISO is 26.5, and the strikeouts, they're not really striking out, but the power is just not there, right? And that's the one big concern here. Yes, it is in Oakland during the day, so you can make that argument that maybe it gives a little bit of a bump, but they just have not been right. And I think I'm just good on passing on this. Like, we got Chas McCormick in the 6 hole. He's not normally there. He's normally down in like that, like 8 hole or 7. And I just think this lineup is struggling a bit. So I'm fading the Astros on this slate. If they beat me, they beat me. I understand if you think you have a good read on it, go for it. But I just don't think it's a good Astro slate. So I think I'm out on that.
Yeah, that's makes 3 of us. I don't think I need to get to that game either. Next game on the slate, San Francisco Giants, Arizona Diamondbacks, Logan Webb and Zach Gallen on the mound. 2 pitchers you guys talked about. Mangone, any bats for you?
Yeah, so if you had like the pitcher, like, and I think this is always good to look at on almost any slate, like if this pitcher is going to be like above 20% on, what is the value in stacking against them? Is it the correct slate to do it? Like we said, we are struggling a little bit for offenses that we absolutely love on this slate besides Coors. And if you think it has a lot of ownership and you're looking to fade that completely, then it gets thin at looking at offenses. So could you make an argument for attacking Gallen if you had to look at all those guys, right? You talked about you're not attacking Corbin Burns. That would not be the guy to leverage. I wouldn't be taking the A's against Javier if I had to pick a leverage one. If I had to pick the leverage one, it's probably the Giants stack. So I have some slight interest in tournaments for like large field, trying to ship that 100K or 50K up top for $15, but not something you're going to see on like a single entry or 3 entry max or anything like that. That's kind of the main thing that I'm thinking on this slate. It's just more of a leverage play. Probably won't see much of them in my lineups. And we got to wait for this giant lineup. And then once you get the giant lineup, you got to worry about the pinch hit risk. So there are a lot of factors that can be frustrating for sure.
Absolutely. Gary, any interest?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I would also prefer the Giant side here if I was going to do something. But man, I don't know how many lefties the D-backs have in their bullpen. But as soon as a lefty comes in, a few of these guys are coming right out of the game. So yeah, I can't do it today on this slate. Both applied totals are under 4. I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like these last games as much. I like the earlier games more, even though they are kind of all within pretty close to each other, these games. We got one game left to talk about on the slate. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. One game left. We're going to talk stacks, and we're going to get you the plays of the day. We'll get on out of here well before lock starts. Lock is at 2:10 Eastern on DraftKings. Core plays, playbook, cash chart, all the normal stuff is going to be up on the site. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thank you very much. Texas Rangers, Seattle Mariners, John Gray and Marco Gonzalez on the mound. I said I didn't really like these later games too much. I think of the last 2 games that we talked about, Texas would probably be my favorites. But man, do I think I get here? Like, I like the Brewers. I like the Rockies. How many teams do I need to play today? Talk to me, Gary. Do you like any Rangers? You like any Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, I like this game quite a bit. I like
right.
we mentioned earlier, it's going to be 90 degrees here in Seattle. I mean, the prime hitting conditions for this stadium. I mean, normally they got that marine layer going on, and the ball's not traveling very far, but it's gonna be bright and sunny and 90 degrees. Sign me up here against Marco Gonzalez, who is just not good at all. I like a full stack here of these Texas Rangers specifically. Like the whole lineup going all the way down. Corey Seager, lefty on lefty. Adolis Garcia just keeps hitting home runs. I know he's 5,000, but look at his game log: 16, 16, 38, 5, 5, 21. The last 2 16s are in this Seattle ballpark. He's on fire. Leody Taveras, just a stud prospect, 3,700, just really too cheap here. Has multiple stolen base upside as well. So yeah, I'll have quite a bit of Texas, but I also like the Seattle side. Probably wouldn't 5-man him here against Gray, but Julio Rodriguez, people were talking, they were holding him out of the lineup because he's hurt and this and that. And then last night, his first game back, he hit the bomb. I'm not saying that's going to happen again here, but Carlos Santana is another guy that's been hitting the ball really good against right-handed pitching over the last month. He's got a 286 ISO. He's dirt cheap as well. So I have quite a bit of interest here, more so on the Texas side, but I definitely will have some Seattle as well.
Yeah, no, the more I look into it, Texas is definitely my third favorite stack behind those two. I mean, you look at Marco Gonzalez, if you're a game log watcher, you're not double digits in the last 4 starts. That's definitely not very nice. Texas, they get the 9th inning at bat. This is what, I mean, like you said, Gary, if you ever want to play teams in Seattle, now is the time with how hot it is there. So yeah, I like Texas. I liked him coming into the show. After what you said, Gary, I like him even more now. Mangone, talk about this game.
Yeah, I think the thing to mention here too is like, it's not just like, hey, like it's hot in Seattle, right? It's not hot in New York and Boston and they're not on the slate, right? Like it's all dependent on what actual parks are on each slate, right? Sometimes we have slates where it's like, you got the Cubs win game, you got Coors, you got the Jays and the roof is open against this absolute crap pitcher. It's one of those slates where this is more in play and viable, I think, than normal. And it's a pretty good spot. So I think it's interesting. I don't know if I love it as like the 5-man. I think it's better as the 3-man stack, but like I think like Duran, Culberson, perfectly fine. Taveras, Garcia, Seager, Semien. I guess Heim's not bad too. So overall, you could probably get away with it. I definitely don't mind this game, but I'm not like going out of my way to like be like, let me build some Ranger stacks, right? I think it's one of those things. Maybe you keep them in like the opto is like you run stuff and like if you get some exposure to them, you know, you're fine with it. And then if you're getting like, you know, an insane amount, maybe you just like lower it where you say, I just want to be overweight on the field, like 2 to 3x. You're not like lock buttoning them. I think that's kind of the way I'm approaching it. I'm gonna let the opto tell me if it fits the math of all the other things that I'm doing.
Yep, definitely makes some sense. And like Jerry said, don't be afraid to play Corey Seager, a lefty, against Marco Gonzalez. He's bad against lefties, pretty much just as bad against righties as well. So lefties, righties, you name it. And what I do like about Texas, you kind of mentioned, Mangone, but last thing to wrap it up, Semien 5-1, Seager 5-5, Jonah Heim 4-4, Adolis Garcia 5K. bottom of the lineup, they are a lot cheaper, but man, they're going to be low owned. If you stack the top of Texas lineup, that means you're not playing the Dodgers, the White Sox, all of that. I think it's an interesting stack for sure. So we're going to get into top 3 stacks from all of us, get you the plays of the day, and get on out of here. My 3 favorite: Brewers, Rockies, Texas. Definitely the top 3 for me. Mangone, give me your top 3.
All right, I'll give you my top 3. I'm wondering, we got the likes of the plays of the day. That's the question. I'm wondering if we're able to do that or not. So
I didn't even. I said I was going to be nice today. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And
let's be nice, Title. Let's be nice today. I feel like we haven't done shows in a while together. You were just away. The producer was away. Let's get the mojo flowing for the people. We'll give out those plays. Let me get
they'll hit it for us.
Yeah, hit it now. Hit it on the way out. We appreciate it over here at Run Pure. And let's say you watch it a little behind, right? Because we got a lot coming up in about like 50 minutes. Hit that like for us. Definitely appreciate it. And get in that Discord chat to, talk about some of the slate as well. But my top 3 stacks, you'll see it on the premium content that I have over here at Run Pure Sports on the single entry and 3 entry max. White Sox are my favorite stack, followed by the Brewers, number 2. And then my mini stack, which I kind of talked about a little bit, like some stacks I think are better for 5-man, some are better for minis. It's the Royals. Really like them here in this spot. I'm going to ride them out against Jansen Junk or whatever his name is, throwing a bunch of junk.
Gary?
Yeah, I think you and I are going to be in lockstep here. It's Colorado for me, and then Milwaukee, and then Texas.
Things you love to see, arm in arm with Gary. Gary is on the core plays too. Make sure you check that out. That was all 7 games. That is all the pitching. Now it is time for the plays of the day, though. I will start with the SO play of the day. How do I not to go to my boy Tyrone Taylor? Down in the 9 hole, should be 3% owned. I like the Brewers a lot. I like 1 through 9 pretty much. Tyrone Taylor will be in that Brewer stack. So give me him as the SO play of the day. Let's go Sweet Travis play of the day, man. Go and give us a winner.
Yeah, let's go with, I don't know what his ownership is going to be. I think it's going to be low enough. If not, tell me if the veto is needed. But I think people are playing Grandal a ton. I think people are playing Will Smith, and I love those guys. I mean, Grandal's like, when you remember the guy that gave you that one big GPP hit to start everything for DFS for you?
Of course.
On
Alec Burks. Burks.
Yep.
That's my boy.
On FanDuel, when catcher was like an actual position, and he played for the Dodgers, Grandal was like 2% owned and hit me 3 bombs. He dropped like a 70 piece or something insane on FanDuel.
Dang.
So I think those guys are going to be owned. I think MJ Melendez, 4.9, an expensive guy to go to. And I say he hits a bomb. He hit one kind of recently, and he's a really good power hitter. Like him a lot. And hey, maybe go over to the DK Sportsbook, get that value at plus 406. I think he's a pretty good bet here to hit a home run against junk. So give me MJ Melendez as my play of the day.
Man, I just really feel old after what I just did. And I'm saying, so you said the 3 home run bomb for Grandal. And in my head, I remember the Reds a couple of years ago. I didn't know how long it was. The 4 home run game. It was Scooter Gennett. I had to look up the name. Geez. 2017 that was. I remember it was like it was yesterday. I remember the exact thing I was doing the whole time, which is so weird. But when Scooter Gennett hits 4 bombs, you're going to remember. And I played him in one. I think I had him on FanDuel that day. 2017 that was. Scooter Gennett, the 4 home run day. That is so crazy, man. Gary, though, going to you, the groundhog play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to stick in that last game. I really like Texas here today. Adolis Garcia El Bombi is going to hit one out today. El Bombi, Adolis Garcia.
I like it for sure. Those are the 3 plays of the day. 7-game slate. Lock is in about 40 minutes, 2:10 Eastern. So make sure to check that out. Premium show, head over on Pure Sports, RPS Heater 25, gets you 25% off. They'll be breaking down the main slate, 5 games on DraftKings and FanDuel. Keep in mind, it is at 6:40 Eastern today, not the usual 7:10, so make sure you get your lineups in. Golf show will be back later, 10 p.m. Eastern. A lot of winners being picked. Head over to Discord. Everyone's talking in there as always, but Chris, you remember that Scooter day? I rostered Scooter that day being there. Yeah, what a crazy day. Man, 2017. I didn't know it was like that, though, but I had them there on FanDuel as well. Very fun show, man, going. Hopefully you do get these tickets. You do head to the Rockies game, even though I don't think that is going to happen from the way you've been talking about it.
It's not happening, Tyler. I realized I need to. One reason I woke up early was I was like, well, I need to make sure I get to the gym, and like I got to get back to the gym. So we're going to do that.
I hit the gym before. I was scrambling on my way back to get here. That's what you do. Get up early, hit it early. Feel good the rest of the day. Everyone out there, best thing in the world, hit the sauna, man. Absolutely changed my life. I will go to the grave with the sauna. That's enough talking, though. Get your baseball lineups in for Gary, Mangone, Simon Behind the Sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.